What if I told you that a man born into exile, hunted as a child, and betrayed by his own people would rise to rule the largest empire in history? Genghis Khan wasn't just a warrior. He was a master of discipline, strategy, and relentless ambition. But here's the secret. His daily habits, his mindset, and his leadership principles aren't just relics of the past. They hold the power to transform your life today. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll discover the life-changing lessons hidden in Khan's routine, principles of power, success, and resilience that you can apply to dominate your own battles, whether in business, leadership, or personal growth. Are you ready to unlock the warrior within? Genghis Khan's mornings were far from peaceful. Before sunrise, he would rise, not in luxury, but in a simple tent, surrounded by hardened warriors. His first act? Observing the weather. For Khan, the sky wasn't just scenery. It was a guide for war, diplomacy, and survival. The movement of clouds, the wind's direction, even the scent carried in the air could dictate the day's decisions. He believed that nature whispered its intentions to those wise enough to listen. In a world without modern forecasts, Khan's understanding of the elements often gave him the upper hand. Clear skies meant swift movement was possible. Rolling clouds warned of rain that could turn the plains into a muddy trap. Even the behavior of birds and animals provided him clues. His warriors knew that when Khan stared at the sky in silence, he wasn't admiring its beauty. He was calculating his next move. Once satisfied with his observations, Khan would turn to strategy. His mornings began with meetings alongside his most trusted generals. Maps of the Mongolian steppes, enemy territories, and supply routes were spread before them. Every conversation was sharp and efficient, no detail overlooked, no threat underestimated. Khan expected his generals to know their units intimately, from the swift horse archers to the hardened infantry. Every warrior's strength and weakness was accounted for. Discipline was the foundation of Khan's empire. His warriors knew that any hesitation, any missed detail could spell disaster. Khan's ability to anticipate his enemy's next move became legendary. His plans weren't merely about overwhelming force. They were about precision. If a rival tribe was known to set traps along river crossings, Khan would adapt, sending scouts ahead to bypass those dangers. Even in times of peace, Khan's mornings remained methodical. His warriors maintained their armor, sharpened their blades, and cared for their horses. Khan believed that an undisciplined army was no better than a herd of cattle, destined to be slaughtered. Each morning, he would inspect their weapons, ensuring no blade was dulled and no saddle strap was frayed. To Khan, the smallest crack in preparation was an invitation for defeat. This strict routine wasn't just about war. It was about mindset. Khan understood that consistency breeds strength. The early mornings forged a sense of purpose, instilling focus and resilience. Whether conquering new lands or maintaining order within his growing empire, Genghis Khan knew that discipline at dawn shaped victory by dusk. In those quiet moments before the day's march, Khan understood that power was never given. It was earned. And it began the moment he opened his eyes. Despite his brutal image, Khan valued mental clarity and focus above all. He believed clear thinking was the key to power. He encouraged his soldiers to reflect, analyze, and act with precision. One of Khan's core habits was practicing intense focus during decision-making. He avoided emotional reactions and carefully calculated his moves, often surprising enemies with unexpected tactics. His ability to remain calm under pressure became a defining trait. While others would lash out in anger or panic, Khan would sit in silence, staring at the maps before him. He would weigh each option, assessing risks and outcomes. Khan's focus extended far beyond the battlefield. He believed that a leader's mind must be disciplined as well as their body. Each morning, he dedicated time to reflection. He would sit in quiet meditation, processing the events of the previous day. What went right? What needed improvement? His ability to reflect allowed him to adapt faster than his enemies. This clarity influenced his leadership style. Khan was not just a conqueror, he was a master of influence. He knew how to inspire loyalty, often reminding his warriors that their strength came not from numbers alone, but from unity and discipline. Each soldier understood their role, and Khan ensured that even the lowest-ranking warrior knew they were vital to the empire's success. Khan's leadership extended beyond tactics. He saw potential where others saw weakness. Rather than executing defeated enemies outright, Khan often spared talented individuals, integrating their skills into his growing empire. Engineers, scholars, and even former enemies found themselves serving under Khan's rule. He understood that power wasn't just about destruction, it was about creation. Above all, Genghis Khan knew that mental focus was a weapon sharper than any blade. He cultivated a mind trained to endure pressure, resist fear, and act with purpose. His vision transformed the Mongol Empire from scattered tribes into a force that shook the world. Khan believed a leader must endure what his men endured. He trained with his soldiers, riding for hours across the harsh Mongolian plains, practicing archery and learning to survive on minimal resources. He understood that strength was built not just in war, but in the everyday struggles that hardened the body and sharpened the mind. Khan's horsemanship was legendary. He could ride for days without rest, covering vast distances faster than his enemies could anticipate. His ability to fire arrows while galloping at full speed became a symbol of Mongol dominance. But this skill wasn't gifted, it was forged through relentless practice. From childhood, Khan had trained to ride with no saddle, learning to balance and maneuver with precision. Even as a great Khan, he maintained this practice, proving to his men that mastery demands consistency. But endurance wasn't just about riding. Khan drilled his warriors to survive with almost nothing. Each man carried a supply of dried meat and fermented mare's milk, lightweight provisions that could sustain them for weeks. Khan believed that luxury weakened resolve, so his soldiers learned to embrace hardship. When food was scarce, they were taught to bleed their horses, mixing the blood with water for nourishment. These brutal practices weren't cruelty, they were preparation. Khan knew that war was unpredictable. His men had to outlast their enemies, moving faster, surviving longer, and striking harder. A Mongol warrior could travel for days with minimal rest, while enemy forces struggled to keep pace. This endurance made the Mongol army one of the most feared and adaptable forces in history. Yet Khan demanded this same resilience from himself. He refused to shelter in luxury while his men faced hardship. During long campaigns, he would sleep on the cold ground beside his warriors, sharing the same meager rations. To Khan, this wasn't symbolic, it was essential. By enduring what his soldiers endured, he earned their loyalty, and by demonstrating strength through hardship, he inspired his army to follow him anywhere. For Genghis Khan, survival wasn't just a skill, it was a mindset. He knew that strength isn't forged in comfort, but in struggle. And through discipline, endurance, and an iron will, Khan transformed his men into a force that could not only survive, but dominate. For all his intensity, Genghis Khan understood the power of rest. He believed that stepping back from stress allowed for better decision-making. After battles or campaigns, Khan would retreat to remote areas to reflect, meditate, and reconnect with his family. In these moments of quiet, Khan was no longer the ruthless conqueror. He was a man seeking clarity. Surrounded only by the wind's whisper and the crackling of a fire, he would sit in silence, grounding himself in thought. This practice wasn't a sign of weakness, it was a calculated strategy. Khan believed that reflection sharpened the mind, allowing him to analyze past decisions and prepare for future conquests. His moments of solitude were more than just meditation. They were a form of mental warfare. Khan understood that a mind clouded by rage or fatigue was prone to mistakes. By stepping back, he gained perspective. While rivals obsessed over immediate gains, Khan played the long game, always planning his next move with precision. During these retreats, Khan would often invite close advisors and family members to join him. Around the fire, they would discuss politics, trade, and culture, broadening Khan's understanding of the world. He knew that ruling an empire required more than brute force, it demanded wisdom. By learning from merchants, travelers, and scholars, Khan absorbed knowledge that strengthened his grasp on diplomacy and governance. But perhaps most importantly, these moments of rest allowed Khan to reconnect with his family. Despite his fierce reputation, Khan valued loyalty above all. His sons were often by his side, learning not only the art of war, but the importance of patience and foresight. By sharing these quiet moments with his children, Khan ensured his legacy was built on more than conquest. It was rooted in wisdom. For Genghis Khan, rest was not laziness. It was strategy. He understood that a mind stretched too thin would eventually break. By embracing silence, reflection, and family, Khan kept his mind sharp and his spirit unshaken. And with every quiet moment spent beside the fire, Khan was not merely resting, he was preparing for victory. Genghis Khan didn't just conquer, he built. Under his rule, the Mongol Empire introduced systems that transformed societies, bridged cultures, and laid the groundwork for modern civilization. His leadership united warring tribes into a powerful force that reshaped Asia and Europe. One of Khan's most remarkable achievements was the creation of the Yam postal system, a network of relay stations that revolutionized communication across his vast empire. Riders, known as arrow messengers, would travel day and night, delivering critical messages between commanders, cities, and territories. This system allowed Khan to manage his empire efficiently, strengthening both trade and diplomacy. The Mongol postal network spanned thousands of miles, enabling merchants, travelers, and scholars to exchange ideas at unprecedented speed. Khan's influence stretched far beyond military tactics. He revitalized the Silk Road, transforming it from a dangerous path into a thriving artery of commerce. By securing key trade routes and offering protection to merchants, Khan fostered cultural exchange between the East and West. Goods, technologies, and ideas flowed freely, from Chinese printing techniques to Persian astronomy, enriching both Mongol territories and the wider world. Khan also introduced an early form of international law. He enforced a strict yet effective code known as the Yasa, which emphasized loyalty, discipline, and order. This legal framework protected ambassadors, guaranteed safe passage for foreign envoys, and imposed harsh penalties for corruption and betrayal. Under Khan's rule, diplomats were respected, fostering peaceful relations even with hostile nations. But Khan's achievements were not limited to trade and law. He redefined military strategy. His forces excelled in speed, deception, and adaptability. Khan's army mastered the art of feigned retreats, luring enemies into traps, and relied heavily on intelligence networks to outmaneuver their foes. These tactics allowed his empire to expand rapidly, reaching from the Pacific Ocean to the heart of Europe. However, Khan's conquests came at a heavy cost. Entire cities were reduced to ashes and populations were decimated. His campaigns claimed millions of lives, earning him a reputation as both a conqueror and a destroyer. Yet, while Khan's methods were brutal, His empire's stability allowed art, science, and trade to flourish in its wake. Under his leadership, the Mongol Empire became the largest contiguous land empire in history, stretching across 24 million square kilometers. His vision dismantled tribal divisions, connecting cultures that had previously existed in isolation. Genghis Khan's legacy is one of contradiction, a leader who brought both destruction and innovation. His ability to unite warring tribes, revolutionize communication, and establish order shaped the world in ways few could imagine. His empire laid the foundations for globalization, and his influence echoes through history to this day. Genghis Khan's life was brutal, yet his discipline, adaptability, and leadership created an empire that shaped history. His rise from outcast to conqueror was not just a story of war, but a testament to the power of resilience, strategy, and focus. His victories were not won by strength alone. They were forged through preparation, mental clarity, and the ability to adapt. Khan's success reveals a powerful truth. Ambition without discipline leads nowhere. He understood that true power comes from mastering your mind, your habits, and your emotions. Whether leading an army or facing personal struggles, the ability to stay calm, think clearly, and embrace discomfort separates those who succeed from those who fall. But Khan's story is not just about conquest. It's about vision. His ability to unite fractured tribes, build communication networks, and foster trade proved that leadership is more than commanding armies. It's about building something greater than yourself. Khan's legacy reminds us that growth is forged in discipline. To thrive in your own journey, embrace consistency, face adversity head-on, and remain humble enough to keep learning. The greatest victories are not claimed by chance. They are built through deliberate action, day after day. If you want to unlock the habits of the greatest minds in history, hit that subscribe button and join us at Figures of Time, where the wisdom of the past shapes the leaders of the future.